Greetings, everyone. Beggy Beg here, and today we've got Resident Evil Requiem on the menu once again. In JJ's recent breakdown, he briefly alluded to the significance of Elpis in Greek mythology. This time around, we'll dive much deeper into how these ideas likely influence Requiem's story and art direction, specifically getting into the potential influences on Grace Ashcroft and Victor Gideon. As news on Requiem continues to be released, you might even see additional deep analysis videos from myself alongside JJ's breakdowns. With that being said, let's get started. So, Elpis. About a minute and a half into the most recent trailer, we hear Victor say,
Elpis can finally be set free.
While Elpis may or may not be directly referring to a deadly new bioagent, what exactly does the word refer to? Through the lens of Greek mythology, this naturally takes us to the story of Pandora's box, which happens to connect back to Grace's predicament at the very premise of Requiem. Here's how. Pandora was the first woman to be sent to Earth from Mount Olympus, created to play a part in Zeus's plot for revenge on humanity. After Zeus granted life to Pandora, the gods each bestowed great gifts and talents upon her, one of which would prove fatal: the gift of curiosity, given to her by the goddess Hera. This, combined by the gift of a gilded box that Pandora received as a wedding gift from Zeus, through Hermes, would spell out Pandora's tragic fate. This box was never to be opened. However, each time Pandora looked at it, her curiosity grew and grew. Eventually, she opened it up and outpoured all types of evils: disease, famine, death, envy, all of the torments Zeus would release upon humanity, hungry for revenge. All that remained inside the box was Elpis, the Greek word for hope, personified as a minor goddess in some versions of the myth. Now, let's tie this all back together. Since the very first reveal trailer of Requiem, many have questioned why Agent Dempsey would order Grace to investigate a case involving the murder of her mother, Alyssa Ashcroft, from 2018. This would qualify as a conflict of interest in most circumstances, and probably warrant reassignment. However, this is precisely the scenario where the metaphor of Pandora's box could shine. Grace's burning curiosity to uncover the truth behind her mother's death would eventually overtake her, making this case itself function as Grace's box that she should otherwise never open. If Dempsey's hidden allegiance to Victor turns out to be true, which JJ alluded to by pointing out what looks to be a younger Agent Dempsey here, this would imply that Grace would face none of the usual restrictions in taking on a case involving family. Grace opening the box is a metaphor for her venturing out to these locations, the Wrenwood Hotel and the sanitarium, to uncover her own long-buried trauma. This also links back to the fateful quality of curiosity given to Pandora by Hera, who is the goddess of childbirth and the closest thing Pandora had to a mother. Grace seems to have inherited a similar quality of curiosity and inquisitiveness from her mother Alyssa, actively seeking the truth behind the veil, just as her mother did. It's not only a fitting analogy for Grace's scenario in particular, but for Resident Evil as a whole. The original trilogy probably exemplifies this the best, each featuring a protagonist's quest to uncover dark secrets behind those in power, unleashing all sorts of new and more destructive evils along the way, all because they couldn't help but question those in authority and actively stand in the way of their sordid efforts. Similar to Pandora's box unleashing all manner of disease and misfortune, Grace will likely end up unleashing, or perhaps exacerbating, a biohazard outbreak in one of these locations without realizing it, just by walking into Victor's hands and letting him obtain what remains in the box by accessing her blood, which also ties back to Victor's line from a previous trailer.
There's no escaping your destiny.
Further strengthening the parallel between the fateful tale of Pandora and a similar predicament faced by Grace Ashcroft. Moving on to the potential inspirations of Victor and the infection itself, let's take a closer look at these distinct symptoms. Teeth falling out and these golden yellow eyes, blood dripping from them. Sticking with the theme of Greek mythology, this brings the idea of ichor to mind, ichor being the golden blood of Greek gods. This golden blood was thought to be toxic to mortals, complementing the idea that Victor's skin and physicality was corroded away by his tampering with something godlike, something beyond humankind, perhaps in the path to synthesizing Elpis. As for these photos, it seems as if a later stage in the infection even causes the eyes to emerge from and escape their sockets, with them hanging out very far, as seen from this encounter with Leon. Also note the etymology of the word Icarus. It now more commonly refers to bloody fluids discharged from the body, indicating infection or decay. All of it fits the bill right on as a sort of marriage of the older mythological concept of ichor and the newer connotation. Now for the eye color. The precise eye colors of the Greek gods vary in different texts, often not explicitly defined, but this rich golden color is also commonly thought to be the eye color for many Greek gods, shining and divine. Perhaps Victor's eyes, beneath those goggles, are of the same color as these infected as well. Building onto this even more, and moving away from Greek myth, another very fascinating route of inspiration they may have taken for Victor in these golden eyes is this figure, Azazel, from an old text called the Book of Enoch, an esoteric work that built onto some ideas from Genesis in the Bible, and specifically in our case, fallen angels. Azazel is a disenfranchised figure from this work, a fallen angel who spearheaded a rebellion against God by leading a group called the Watchers. He taught all sorts of forbidden knowledge to humanity, such as weapon making, metallurgy, and cosmetic beautification, corrupting them. Sometimes depicted as a goat-like demon, he practically fed off of the sins of humankind and was eventually banished, with the ritual of sending a scapegoat away to Azazel acting as a means of ascribing all sin to him, cleansing humankind in the process. I'm sure this is already conjuring metaphors in your mind of how Victor may have taught his colleagues various forbidden practices in dealing with the dead and dying. But even better, look at these pop culture depictions of Azazel in fictional stories. One from the Marvel Universe, essentially the once confirmed, but perhaps no longer, as I'm no expert on Marvel Comics, father of Nightcrawler, both of them with glowing, golden yellow eyes. Another popular depiction of Azazel, as one of Lucifer's 4 demon princes of hell, looks like this in the show Supernatural. Given all the inspiration taken from horror pop culture in Resident Evil Village, such as the Brides of Dracula essentially being repackaged as Lady D's daughters, and Elizabeth Bathory influencing Alcina's desire to drain the maidens of their blood, it's perfectly plausible that Capcom is pulling from pop culture references like these as inspirations for Victor and those afflicted with this new bioagent. We now know that Victor is affiliated with Umbrella, somehow, and if Victor knew Spencer, perhaps Spencer had ostracized him, sending him away from Umbrella's larger efforts due to Victor's darker or more taboo approaches to bioexperimentation. It's perfectly conceivable, then, that Victor was laying low for many years, waiting to make moves on the sanitarium until Spencer and Umbrella could no longer obstruct him. Victor can be seen as a rebellious, fallen angel in this context, his own type of Azazel, to Spencer acting as the god, in a similar yet different manner to James Marcus's relationship with Spencer. When we put this into context with Requiem, this also opens up an entirely new perspective. If Elpis is actually a regenerative agent when it's fully synthesized, there's a chance Victor is being misunderstood and misrepresented as antagonistic, similarly to how Chris was framed as heartless in his execution of what appeared to be Mia in RE Village. Both of them, like Azazel, were sort of framed as black sheep, with the worst intentions you could imagine, though it's unlikely that it's so clear-cut. My guess is that Victor will land somewhere in between, maybe possessing the traits of an anti-hero whose intentions aren't entirely malevolent, but enough so to shatter the usual contract of medical practice, again like Marcus, considering his savage human experimentation in RE0's training facility. Potential evidence for this is the list of victims we hear about in these trailers, perhaps being kidnapped for use in Victor's experiments. Every Resident Evil story is centered around the search for a perfect vessel, so perhaps these were Victor's imperfect vessels that became lesser bioweapons, after much effort, as he says, before finding what he actually needed in Grace's body, the perfect vessel, or the chosen one. As is often the case in Resident Evil, he's looking to escape his suffering and transcend some limitation of the human condition, just as Alex Wesker sought to transcend her chronic illness, and Miranda and Spencer sought to transcend the death of the physical body. This also brings attention to Victor's teeth. If he lost them in a similar way that these other supposedly imperfect subjects lost theirs, maybe he presumed himself to be the perfect vessel for Elpis at some earlier point in time, which circles back again to the metaphor of ichor, golden blood of the gods, poisoning him, whatever that is in this context, Elpis or not, through Victor's contact. After this, he must have set out to find the divine vessel who could withstand such an encounter and provide results, landing on Grace. Whatever the case, I hope all of this is just as exciting to you as it is to me. My goal, as always, is to get you thinking and to hopefully gain a greater appreciation for these stories and the influences embedded within them. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, we'll catch you next time on The Residents of Evil. I'll pass it off to JJ.
If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and for all the latest Resident Evil 9 Requiem news, make sure to subscribe. The Residents of Evil is a Patreon-supported channel and also supported by our YouTube members. So if you'd like to become a member and unlock access to custom badges, emojis, and exclusive live streams, click that join button down below. You can join our survival horror community on Discord, link will be in the description, and I have the Duke here to tell you a little about our sponsor, G Fuel.
Do you have need of anything for the road ahead? The Residents of Evil has expanded its services. Perhaps you're in need of a little pick-me-up. I recommend the G Fuel. You can even get a fair discount if you use the code ROE upon purchase. And as always, we thank you for your patronage, stranger.
As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you back at the Residents of Evil.